Hi, I'm Sharon Eberson, Post-Gazette online features editor, and I'm delighted to be here with actor, storyteller, voice artist, and cartoonist Tim Hartman, and he's been all those things to entertainment in Pittsburgh since 1982. And in the recent years, he's also added Broadway to his resume with roles in A Tale of Two Cities and recently the acclaimed revival of Finian's Rainbow, which I was lucky enough to see. And Tim, your next role is a return to Pittsburgh Musical Theater, where you've been a regular, and I know you're playing a couple of roles in Joseph in the amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. I understand this is your first time in a production of Joseph. How did you manage to avoid Joseph all these years?
I don't know, actually. I haven't done many of the biblical things. I did Godspell in college, and then after that, for some reason, I don't know. Maybe it's Andrew Lloyd Webber. Scares me. Maybe that's it.
A lot of us. Yeah. Dual roles seem to be the thing now. You play two roles in Finian's Rainbow, too. How much fun was that, and how did that all happen?
Oh, boy. Well, after doing Tale, the director liked my work, and he realized I was funny, and the role of Shears from Shears and Robust is sort of a silly little role, and so he brought me in for it. He needed the character needed to be commanding and authoritarian and capitalist, which I am all of those things. So.
Well, Finian's Rainbow is something that hasn't been revived much, and and so it was wonderful to see it. And of course, it's somewhat dated, but they did a little updating. What was it like to be a part of that?
What was fascinating for me is a lot of the revivals on Broadway right now. Sorry, that kind of hurt. They sort of wink, wink, nudge, nudge. At this is a revival. It's of an older time, and we decided right off that we were just going to do the piece like it was written mostly, and have fun with it. And I think it served the piece really well because it was from a more innocent time, and it was trying to say big things about that time. And actually, when it comes down to it, things haven't changed all that much, I don't think.
Right. Some wonderful music that we don't get to hear too much
Beautiful.
Either. So
Old Devil Moon, I love that song. And How Are Things in Glockamora?
Right.
Yeah, beautiful stuff.
Yep. Yeah. And you seem to go from one musical to the next, too, in different styles. It was fun to see you as the narrator in Into the Woods. And you've been known to do Scrooge, and you go from here to there to there, each time a different style. How do you get into that? Is that you're a storyteller, too, so I imagine that's helpful.
That has everything to do with it. For me, story is the most important thing. That's why I still do storytelling. A lot of people say, well, why do you still do children's theater? Why do you perform for children? And because I find it a very pure art form. I find it a very pure way to communicate with an audience. And if the story is good and you're committed to that story, the audience is going to really enjoy it. They're going to become a part of it, especially children. And so I go at a theatrical production the same way. I think the story is very important, and if the humor is coming out of the story rather than me just trying to be funny, then it works better. And so that's what I've always tried to do. People don't believe that about me. They think I just try to be funny for funny's sake. But no, if you go to Christmas Carol and you've seen me in the last 16 years doing that, except for last year, sorry.
We missed you.
Mr. Fezziwig is supposed to be a guy who is loving and enjoying Christmas and doing everything he can to enjoy Christmas. And so that's who he is to me. And the humor comes easily out of that. But the Ghost of Christmas Present, I think people would be surprised at how serious he is the way I do it. And so, I love that. I love being able to go from that extreme of complete silliness to really just trying to tell the story and make sure the points are being made that Scrooge needs to hear so he can change his personality.
Well, a lot of people might not know this about you who know your work on stage, but you're also a cartoonist. And so maybe you can bring some of that fun and the seriousness together with that a little bit, or is it mostly fun for you, too?
Oh, boy, that's a hard thing. People don't want to believe that a guy could be an actor and a successful actor, make a living as an actor, and also be something else. We kind of live in a society that the Renaissance man isn't, people don't believe that's possible. So those two worlds are very separate for me. my editorial cartoons run in newspapers all over Pennsylvania, up to about 30 now. And it's fun, but I'm also very politically minded, and I like paying attention to what's happening in Pennsylvania politics. So I do basically Pennsylvania politics. And it's just completely different. What I do as an actor is so verbal. It's so stuck to the words. But as a cartoonist, I just make fun of people. That's good.
Well, where you combine those two, which was wonderful to see when we were in New York. It was Broadway Cares, Actors Equity Fights AIDS time, and they always auction things off, and you did caricatures of the shows. What was that like? Did your cast members get into that? Did they think that was fun?
Yeah. Oh, boy. They were surprised by it. Again, everybody always is, because, I don't know, maybe I don't look like a cartoonist. But very thankful. People love to see themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Even, I don't know if I should say this, but there are some politicians who I've drawn over the years, and I might draw a scathing cartoon of them. But I'll get calls. Can I have that? Because that looks like me. Yeah, they see themselves. And so they really enjoy it. And it was a thrill, especially my first show, Tale of Two Cities. That was at the Hirschfeld Theater. And they sold my caricature of the cast in the Hirschfeld, of all places. So that was just so exciting for me. Just so exciting.
So what's up next? You have Pittsburgh Musical Theater, and again, we're lucky enough to have you back in Pittsburgh. So are there more Pittsburgh productions in the future?
I'll be doing Joseph, that runs now, and then I do Annie for them. Just fit perfectly into my schedule, and I don't mind shaving my head again.
I was going to ask if you were going to do that. So.
I do. I think it's a funny thing, because when you're as big as I am, people will stop and stare and point. But when you shave your head, it adds a whole other element that scares people. And
so they'll look down when you go past.
Yeah, it's sort of like one of those. It's like, oh, so I kind of like that. And then I'm talking with CLO about a couple productions this summer, but I really can't talk about that now.
Okay.
They'll be mad at me.
They have an exciting schedule, I know, with things like curtains and some other things coming in. Do you hope to go back to New York someday, or with this experience? I mean, it came a little late in your career. You've been around for a long time.
I'm old.
No, you've been talented for a long time, is what it is.
That's nice of you to say.
And you hit Broadway, I guess, at age 50 was the first
49 is when I hit Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just turned 50 during this last show. It's weird to be 49 years old and hit your first Broadway show, and then right away hit another one. The thing is, it was all about the director. And so this is our third year in a row we've worked together. And he said, he talks like this. He's from England, and he's very nice. His name's Warren, and everything is beautiful. It's beautiful. And he said, "We'll do it again next year, all right?" And I went, "Whatever," because whatever. I'm that way. I've never been very ambitious. I just want to tell stories.
But you're also a working actor in Pittsburgh, and there aren't a lot of you out there. I mean, you're someone who makes a career being an actor here, and is that partly because you love this town, or that you feel part of this town?
I love Pittsburgh. I love Pittsburgh. I chose, years ago, I was offered a job with Jim Henson. Right after he died, I went, I've got to audition before, I need to do this, because I was a puppeteer. And so I went down to Florida, auditioned for them, and they said, come to New York. And I went, no. Because we just had a child, our first child, and I wanted my kids to grow up around their grandparents, and I wanted them to have the same experiences living in this great town that I had growing up. Now that I'm old and they're getting older, maybe I'll go back to New York. But there are too many things I have left to do here. I've created this whole audience of people because I perform for children. And so people who have seen me perform when they were in grade school come up to me. They get stopped in the mall, and they ask me to do a bit from a story that I told them when they were children, and that's really rewarding. That's really rewarding to have kids and adults now come to see me in the theater because of something they saw me do in their school. And so I'm going to continue to do that. The storytelling is really what I want to do. Schools, I'm still here. Please call. And because I just they're stories that I tell that nobody else is telling anymore, especially Joe Majorak. I don't know if you know that story.
Sure.
And nobody tells that story anymore. And I think it's really important that kids know the heritage of this city.
Well, it's very lucky for Pittsburghers that you are here and that you like staying here. And we look forward to seeing you in Pittsburgh Musical Theater coming up soon. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you. Yay.